Welcome to my 1 Minute to Wow video tutorial. This is Mary Fish with Stampin' Pretty and StampinPretty.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I share daily paper crafting tips as well as the latest products and promotions from Stampin' Up! I also sell the Stampin' Up! Products on my blog, so please stop by, subscribe to my newsletter as well as my blog updates, and shop if you'd like. I'm always here to answer questions as well, and feel free to leave me your comments and questions at the end of this YouTube video. So one of the stamp sets in the Stampin' Up! Occasions catalog for 2018 is called Beautiful Day, and it is definitely what I would call coloring friendly, meaning it's got nice wide open areas for you to color and shade and experiment with, and they work beautifully with many techniques, but I'm going to share with you some tips for using our Stampin' Blends. Stampin' Blends are our alcohol-based markers. They have 2 shades within each color. We've got more colors than I'm sharing with you, but I'm sharing with you Rich Razzleberry and Old Olive. There's a light and a dark, and I like to use the lightest shade, then add a little dark, and then blend it together. Others may do just as well and maybe even produce a slightly different effect using dark first and so forth. So it does take a certain level of experimentation. They've been out for a number of months now, and I've kind of adapted what I feel works the best for me, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. So I'm going to set those aside, and I'm going to bring our Stamparatus, which is the Stampin' Up! Stamp Positioning Tool. This will be available in the annual catalog in June of 2018. Some of you were lucky enough to have reserved one when we had a reserve opportunity window for the limited supply that's coming in. But you'll see that it actually has a hinge and a plate, and actually there's another plate with a hinge here, but I'm not using that second plate today. But just a quick note, it allows you to stamp, and then you can stamp from the top, so that's 2-step stamping, and then you can actually flip the plates around because they come out and work from this way, so you can do up to 4-step stamping. It's called hinge stamping, and you can also move them so that you have exactly the right distance. As long as you don't move the stamp or the sentiment, you can keep moving it down on the hinges. Pretty cool options. If you're into stamp positioning tools, you'll know that these are features that people are definitely jumping up and down about. Now, I have the flower for the Beautiful Day stamp set, and I'm using our Memento ink. It's called Tuxedo Black. The reason you want to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink is it's designed to work with the alcohol-based markers so that you don't have bleeding. So I'm going to ink it up well, and then I've placed some paper here. This is a clear mount stamp, so it has a little cushion. So that it comes with this little cushion that lays down if you're using photopolymer stamps. If you're not, you remove that and you can lay your cardstock down. I've got a piece of Whisper White, and I'm just using one magnet. So I'm going to ink this up good. It's kind of nice. I can see exactly where I'm inking up, and I often did that with my clear blocks, is I would ink stamp side up. And I'm going to then stamp this. I already aligned it on here exactly where I want it, and then I press down, and I use the heel of my hand with just nice even pressure. It's kind of like I'm rolling out the dough, and I just make sure I get all areas. But the really good news is the Stamparatus is forgiving and gives you a second chance. So you can see that I didn't put quite enough pressure there, or possibly not enough ink, and I'm going to get a second chance to do this. And again, these are things you absolutely cannot do with block stamping. And sometimes I feel greedy, even if there's just a little spot that's not perfect. I know I can re-stamp it if I really want a project with crisp, dark color. So I'm going to make sure I get that center area nice and inked up. So I'm going to bring that back. And of course it's in the exact same place, so I'm going to put a little more pressure there, making sure I'm not, I think I was pushing a little bit on this side, which probably wasn't smart, and making sure I put more pressure on the right hand side because that's where I want to make sure the ink transfers. And I know it might look like I'm pushing hard. I'm just pushing evenly with the heel of my hand. So now it should look pretty perfect. So I'm going to remove this magnet, and I'm going to let this dry a little bit before I use it. If you go in right away with wet ink, you're going to move some of that color around as well as the Stampin' Blends color. So I've actually pre-stamped a flower, the Beautiful Day flower. So this one I inked up a little while ago. And I'm going to show you what I typically do to lay down some color. So these are designed so that you have a brush end. You'll see that it has a bigger tip and then a smaller nib, I guess, end. And then I'm going to show you how you can click this on one end. Okay, and I'm actually going to prep and have my darker color ready as well. And on that one, I am also going to use the brush end. I use the nibs some, but when you have a larger area, the paintbrush is just absolutely fine. So I like to start, and so this is the center, and I like to just start by laying down, working away from center, just some of the light color. And it's pretty forgiving. And I'm just really laying down a saturated base. Now you can decide if you want to leave a few little areas open. I'm just going to give nice even coverage. And if it looks like it's giving you a little more coverage than you wanted, we have a color lifter that helps to remove some of that color. I'm going to share an idea with you on that. And then I'm just going to go in with my darker color and just put a little bit here. Okay, so I'm just working it all in towards the center. That's really it. Then I'm taking the light brush back again, and I'm just going to start circles and moving color to the outside. Okay, and even though you could be tempted to want to do more areas at once, this is plenty large enough. You want to really work with this ink while it's wet and saturated. And yes, it bleeds through. I get that question a whole lot, and it should. This is really saturated ink, and that's why people like me can feel empowered with coloring, because it's so gorgeous. So you can see from the back side, that is bleeding through, and that is exactly what it's designed to do. It'll lighten up just a tiny bit. And of course, I sort of left a little of the lighter area just to give it some shading. Let's try that one more time, making sure I've got my light one. So I'm just going to work my color out with the brush, the paintbrush. And then I'm going to add some deeper color in here. Okay, then I'm just going to drag and pull out. So again, just working it and working it out. A little lighter hand as I get to the outside, by the way, because I want to keep that light, a little bit of highlight working, maybe not fill in every inch. So isn't that just beautiful? I mean, that's just, look at the range of color, and as I said, it'll lighten up. Just make sure when you're done, you want to cap them tightly. They'll click into place. And let's do the little leaf together. And again, I'm going to work center and out. That just helps me. And this is the lighter of the two Old Olive colors. And I'm just going to lay down a wash of color. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see that I'm just working quickly. Put the cap on the end so I don't misplace that. And then we're going to work with the darker of the two shades. And I'm going to just bring some color in here. And then I'm going to go right along those veins and just add a little emphasis. A lot of stamps have little lines that kind of show shading. There you are, your little cheat sheet on where to add color. So keep that in mind. And you'll see that we're just going to add some yummy green and make this just beautiful. So I'm just dragging color down. And again, I've done this where I've done the dark color first and then the light, but this just seems to give me the most consistent results. It's probably just a confidence thing. And you can always go back. Actually, this time I'll use this nib a little bit, a little smaller end. I guess they're both called nibs. And I'm just going to add a little more dark color in here. Okay, maybe a little down the side. This is where you can experiment more, but I don't want people to be preoccupied with trying to really figure out a method to the shading and the light. I just think that's more work, and I think just the gradation of the color is really the beauty in it. So that is what I consider just a true classic way to use blends. This will lighten up just a tiny bit as it dries, but it's pretty stunning. Another example, I actually did the butterfly, and I used the Calypso Coral colors. I actually primarily colored with the darker of the two, the entire area. And then just to create a more abstract feel, I used the paintbrush end of the color lifter. It literally lifts colors. And I just used little flicks until I got this kind of fun, hopefully you can see it, shading that's not a nice gradation of shading, but it's just a fun look. It kind of gives a little bit of movement. So those are two different ways to use the Stampin' Up! Stampin' Blends. Thank you for joining me for my Stampin' Pretty Wow video. Again, I love your comments, so please leave me a comment on YouTube. I'll definitely thank you and acknowledge that comment, and I'm also ready to answer your questions. Stop by my blog, stampinpretty.com, subscribe to my daily blog updates and inspiration, as well as my newsletter that offers a special offer each month with a qualifying order. So have a great day. Thank you for joining me. Try our Stampin' Blends, even starting out with a couple colors. Highly recommended. I think you'll fall in love and decide you want them all, like me. All right. Thank you and bye-bye.